Welcome to DreamViews podcast episode 1. Today we'll be talking about us, the hosts. I'm Jason, also known as Rare Cola on DreamViews.com, and I'm here with Ophelia Blue.
Hello!
We're going to be covering just our general goals for the show today, as well as our first lucid dreams, how we got interested in dreaming, and all that fun stuff. So I'll pass it over to Lisa now, and she can talk about who she is, introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Ophelia Blue on DreamViews. My name is Lisa. I'm from Texas. My current occupation is as a pastry chef, and on DreamViews, I'm the on-topic administrator as well as one of the professors for the introduction to beginners lucid dreaming in the DreamViews Academy. My real-life interests include cooking and gardening and music.
Awesome.
Your turn.
Yep, I co-host the intro class with Ophelia, along with Paige Imps and Canis. I'm an apprentice, so to speak. My interests include just general gaming, cooking, cycling, travelling. Pretty generic stuff, really. I'm currently an artist. I freelance graphic design, and lucid dreaming is my life. So DreamViews itself, I've been a member on it for about 3 months, I think coming up to about 3 months, and Ophelia's been on there a lot longer. How many years have you been?
I just reached 8 years, on and off after, I've had a brief hiatus, but yeah, I joined in June 2004.
Yeah, so much longer than me, and I think she mentioned she's the on-topic admin, and she's very experienced in lucid dreaming. She's into dielding, which is dream exit induced lucid dreaming, for anybody that doesn't know. So if you just want to talk about DreamViews a bit for anybody that's listening to these podcasts and not from DreamViews itself.
Sure. DreamViews is a forum centered around the subject of lucid dreaming. The main goals are to educate its members about lucid dreaming, provide the information, resources, and tools to help the members achieve lucidity. This is actually, the website was founded in 2003 as a school project, which is a little tidbit of side information there, which I thought was kind of interesting. And boy, after almost 10 years, it has grown. It's a very huge website now with a huge member base, and we get tons of new members every day, all anxious and excited to learn how to lucid dream. And that's what we're here for, to help you achieve that.
Yeah, and if you are interested in lucid dreaming, I suggest you sign up if you haven't already, and you can join one of the DreamView Academy classes. Basically, we have volunteer teachers who will just guide you through. You can post a workbook in the introduction class, for example, and we'll help you through to your lucid dreaming journey and hopefully get you lucid, because it's an amazing experience, as I'm sure you've heard about before if you're listening to this podcast. Now, this show specifically, we're going to aim to have more hosts come on eventually. It's just us for now. This is just a side project that we decided to launch sort of out of the blue. We're looking to integrate it with the Academy itself, so we want people to send in their questions and we'll do our best to answer them on here. I'm sure Lisa will be able to answer things a lot more in depth than me. And generally we want to make dreaming more prominent. It seems to be, in today's world, it's faded out from society in the hustle and bustle in everyday life, and
Yep.
it's sad that that's happened because it's such an interesting hobby to have.
Yeah, it takes absolutely no time away from your daily life.
Of course, because you do it through the night. I mean, what's the point of just laying there asleep when you could be having adventures through lucidity? So, how did you become interested in lucid dreaming?
Well, my first lucid dream, I was 8 years old, and obviously I had no idea that it had a term. I just know that dreams were supposed to be something that happened. You thought it was real until you woke up. Until one day when I was 8 years old, I dreamt that my brother and I had been sucked up into this tornado. Tornadoes being a very big dream sign for me, which we'll get into another time. But um, and my brother just looked so distraught, and I was like, "It's okay, don't worry, Will. It's all right. This is just a dream." And then boom, I woke up, and I was like, "Wow, that's the first time I've ever had a dream where I realized that in the dream that I was dreaming, which is what a lucid dream is, obviously." And I had a few like that on and off when I was a child, and I think I was a bit discouraged because I would tell my friends this. It's like, yeah, when I dream, I know I'm dreaming. Like I was bragging about it, and then they're like, no, no, no. When you dream, you don't know it's a dream. It was a black and white kind of thing. You absolutely do not know you're dreaming. That's the point of a dream. You don't know. I was like, but no, this just really happened. I'm not, I probably doubted myself that it ever happened. And then gosh, years later, it started happening again, and this time with more control. Because that's something that's very important to remember about lucid dreaming. You can be aware you're dreaming. It's a whole nother level to be able to control the dream, to be able to do what you want in it, have the characters that you're interacting with do what you want. And I was starting to get a little bit of a taste of that, but again, I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know how to improve my skills. So I just went to Google one day and I was like, just typed in dream control and boom, DreamViews was the first result that popped up. And the rest is history. I learned so many different techniques on how to improve it, how to increase the frequency as well as the control. And this is probably a more long-winded answer than you were expecting.
No, it's perfectly fine. We need to let people know who we are.
Yeah.
So you was basically like a natural lucid dreamer then, from a very young age.
Yeah, natural to a point. I know there are people who are quote unquote naturals that they figured out how to do these literally the induction techniques from an early age as if it was normal for them, whereas my natural abilities were kind of limited to just random occurrences. I would become lucid within the middle of a dream just randomly. It wasn't until I actually joined DreamViews that I learned how to induce them on purpose, which was a whole nother experience, a whole nother level. And once you know how to do that, you can really increase the frequency of you know have, how long they last, how clear they are, how much control you have, which is it's so much more fulfilling than it was when I was sort of relying on this sort of random occurrence. So it's really great. It is a wonderful hobby, as you say. Lucid dreaming is another way of life.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays you've got so many different resources with the internet in general to learn how
Oh,
to lucid dream when you're young. I mean, I suppose when you was young, you didn't have any clue what it was, as you mentioned. And
no.
if you were more educated, I assume you would have been able to induce these things from a very young age. That's another thing we should mention, that anybody can lucid dream. We've got people on DreamViews, I think, who've been lucid dreaming since they were 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I think one of them got their parents to find out about it on the internet, and they started
I'm,
practicing induction techniques.
oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
remember talking to somebody like that. I can't remember who it was, but I think they come into the IRC. I think they was about 13 years old, and they had their parents find out about why they was controlling their dreams.
Very interesting. I was lucky though on the one hand when I was lucid dreaming when I was much younger and I didn't know what it was called. My parents are psychiatrists, so they're very they believe in dreams and they believe people learn to control them and in many ways try and encourage them to find ways when they're having say nightmares. Like my stepfather's a psychiatrist. He has a lot of patients who have post-traumatic stress syndrome from the war, and that'll manifest itself in horrible, horrific nightmares. And he tries to encourage them to confront them in the dream and change it. And so fortunately, I had people that, at least in my family, who believed what I was doing. And even further than that, through talking to my mother and my brother about it, I found out that they were actually doing the same thing. Again, they didn't know the term for it. It was just, oh, be aware in your dream and confront your fears and all this. But I found out my mother and my brother were doing, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, the DEILD, the dream exit induced lucid dream, or they would wake up and like the dream that they were having and go back to sleep and continue it, sometimes with control and sometimes not. Sometimes they would just re-experience the dream and enjoy it. They knew they were dreaming, but not really affect it. And other times they would try and actually affect it. So, this is all before the internet, before I had any way of researching it or knowing what it was called.
Yeah.
So at least I had.
Of course, so many people have been learning lucid dreaming recently to confront nightmares, and I think that's one of the big reasons for a lot of people. Um, we have a quite young lucid dreamer that visits the IRC a lot, Oreo Boy.
Oh,
He
yes.
he's practically mastered lucid dreaming now, and he originally started because he would have frequent nightmares every single night, and
Oh.
nowadays he just fights them off in his lucid dreams.
Yeah, in the form of a dragon, I believe. What better way to conquer any nightmare?
Yeah, of course, he is a dragon in every one of his dreams.
That's wild. Wow.
Yep.
But no, it's great. It's a fantastic tool for changing nightmares or anything unpleasant in a dream. Just being able to wield it into something that you enjoy. And boy, you wake up feeling like you can conquer the day like nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely get on a high after a lucid dream. You wake up and your day is just infinitely better.
Absolutely.
So, you spoke about your first experience with lucid dreaming. I'll talk about mine now.
All
Uh,
right.
I first became interested in lucid dreaming a few years back. I think I found out about it through a YouTube video actually. Um, at the time, I wasn't quite sure how to approach it. I wasn't sure whether to believe it because it seemed such a far-fetched concept. Um,
Mm.
but I attempted it for a little while, but I found out I didn't have much time because I was stuck in school. I constantly had to wake up to get ready for school, and I never had time to recall my dreams itself. So for 2012, I set a New Year's resolution to write down all of my dreams, which I think I started about halfway through January, and I had them on and off sporadic through the journal. Um, I think my first one I recorded was I was in a car with my mum, which is a really interesting dream character for me. She acts nothing in my dreams like she does in real life. But I was in the car with my mum, and she was driving down this motorway or highway, as you call them in America. Um, and she was just swerving all throughout these cars, and it, at one time I think she skidded right off the edge of the road and smashed into these trees, and it was just a really interesting first entry to my dream journal. But then as the months progressed, I seemed to not recall as much as I went through, and I up until about April, I think I recorded about 10 dreams, which isn't that impressive really. We have some people on DreamViews who recall 4 or 5 dreams every single night. So
Oh yeah, I know it.
yeah, so I started getting really interested in lucid dreaming again. I went to Reddit and I went to the lucid dreaming section, and on the right hand side I saw a link for DreamViews. So I thought, hey, that's cool, I'll sign up. So I signed up to the forum.
Oh, and Reddit. No kidding.
Yeah. So I didn't really post anything for the first little while after I signed up, and I had my first lucid dream before I even introduced myself. I think I had my first lucid dream a week after I really started trying, but I was recording dreams for the entire year before that on and off. So I was sort of I had a dialed first, a DILD, and I was sort of in this foggy, snowy environment, and this fox just walks up to me, and I'm sort of standing there staring at this fox. It's got loads of different tails shooting out everywhere, and I, I check my hands and I just become lucid in this snowy landscape with this fox just staring straight at me. But I wake up straight after that. That's pretty common, I've heard, with people just becoming lucid and waking up straight after.
Mm-hmm.
But I had also been researching about this other method called DILD, or however you pronounce it, DEILD. So
Mhm.
I woke up from the dream. I was laying in bed, and I was just confused about having my first lucid dream. I was how I looked at my hands, and I was like, wow, I actually knew I was dreaming inside of a dream, and I was thinking about it laying there, trying to go back into it, and then I just found I sort of felt like my body was getting really light, and I could no longer feel the covers on my bed. So I opened my eyes, checked my hands again, and sure enough, I was dreaming. And
Oh,
it's a
wow.
yeah, it's a really surreal experience when you wake up, but you hadn't woken up, sort of thing. You sort of fade straight through into the dreaming world from waking life, and you don't really notice it. So I got up out of bed. Um, I was still kind of dreamy, hazy, but I thought I'd walk through the wall next to my window in my room, and I walked straight through the wall, and it's sort of like I get stuck halfway through. So I'm like halfway hanging out the wall with my legs and still stuck inside the wall. And and eventually I managed to sort of squeeze myself through after being my foot getting crushed in the wall and everything. And there's another thing you should mention that dreams, there's so many real sensations that it's hard to place that it is a dream, especially in a lucid dream. Um, my first lucid dream, especially, is one that I always remember because it's one of my most vivid. And I think that's what you get when you go straight from waking life into the dreaming world. That all of your consciousness is there, as opposed to just sort of waking up in a lucid dream through the dialed method. Um, so I did quite a lot in my first lucid dream. I walked through a wall, and when I was outside, I flew up into the sky. I flew around a bit, and then I sort of came to this roller coaster at the end of my street, which obviously isn't there in waking life. Um, but I'm flying through all the roller coaster and everything, and I go up into this room, which leads down these steps into this really tiny house. But then I sort of get lost in all of the characters in this dream, and I just fade out of lucidity. And then that was my first lucid dream, and I don't think I had another one for a couple of weeks after that. It was a really interesting first experience, and from then,
Yeah, stuck in a wall and everything.
yeah, from then I think I've had about 4 or 5 lucid dreams a month up until this point, and I've been going for 3 months now.
That's that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm really proud of you. I love that. I love that about just our intro class in general. It seems to really create a spike in people's lucid dream frequency where they report the same thing, one or two a week. You know, they're really learning some consistent techniques and ways to become aware during the day that really help them achieve more lucid experiences rather than just, randomly once every now and then.
yeah. I mean, we have so many people that join the intro class that haven't had their first lucid dream yet, and we've got so many resources now. Like we've got 4 teachers amongst me, you, Paige, and Canis. I think that's how you say his name.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and we can just teach these people, and they eventually have their first lucid dream, and it gets them so excited. And it's amazing to see these people have go through these experiences and read to them, because we have a dream journal system on DreamViews as well, where people
Oh,
can write down all
yes.
of their dreams. And you can it's really funny to see how people interact with their dream characters and everything. I think you have
Yeah,
an interesting
your lucid mom is the best, I think, by far.
yeah, you have an interesting experience with your son in your lucids as well, don't you?
Yeah, it's interesting and it's a little disturbing sometimes because even though and this happens a lot with people in their lucid dreams, even though you are dreaming, it's still very easy to get wrapped up and entangled with the characters if they're ones that you know in real life, that you're close to in real life, and with as with my son, it's someone I'm very protective of in real life, obviously, and I generally don't like it when I'm having a lucid dream and he appears because I feel this overwhelming need to make sure he's okay. And I kind of want to just tell him, go to your room so I can go do this, stay in your room where it's safe because I
Yeah.
can't promise what I'm going to be doing. And I did actually take him flying with me one time. And the whole time grabbing his arms, trying to make sure he kept his arms around my neck so he wouldn't fall off the back. And it's so disturbing and so distracting. I generally don't like it when when he appears as a dream character. I prefer the pretend made up ones, that I don't know in real life because they're disposable. I don't care what happens to them.
You have a lot of interesting experiences with demons, which I'm sure we'll get to in another podcast.
Not real demons. I just have to say I don't believe in them, but I couldn't think of a better name for them because they did tend to kind of spontaneously turn rabid and want to, flay my skin off with their teeth. But
It's really interesting where it spawns from, really. Like, as you say, you become so attached to these dream characters, and you know they're not real, they're just in your mind. But we was talking about this before this show, where these people, they technically are real because you've built them from your experiences with real life people. And it's
yes.
just really funny to see how your mind portrays them. So I think that's all we had to talk about for this first show anyway. Do you have any last shutting off words?
Last shutting off words. No, nothing I can think of that I won't drag on for 10 or 15 minutes. We can save it for another show. But
Yeah, so
definitely if you're interested in lucid dreaming, if you're just starting or you've had experiences, if you had like a false awakening as we call it, where you've woken up and you thought you were awake and you're going about your daily business and it turns out it was just a dream, all these kinds of things. They can lead to lucid dreaming, and you can join the intro class and we can help you sort out all these different lucid experiences and details and help you kind of hone in into a skill that'll improve your chances of having a lucid dream on a regular basis.
yep. So if you could just we'll post a thread for this podcast. If you could just give feedback on what you think, what we could do to improve it. Um, any other things you think we should add? I mentioned we're going to have interviews in future. We want to get more people on here, talk to them, see their experiences with lucid dreaming. We want to integrate live question and answer, so we'll probably get people to send in
Yes.
questions, and we try our best to answer them. As I mentioned, we host the DreamView Academy, so we'll probably integrate the classes into these podcasts as well, so we can have sort of a live chat with the people in the intro class. So I think that's it for today. Do you want to say a goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.
Yep, goodbye for now. We hope that